Hi there, I hope you are doing well. Today we have the DF83V. It has been a long anticipated grinder and it just came like 4 days ago. It arrived here and been testing it very hard. Maybe went around 5 kilograms of coffee into it. And here I am. I have an initial feedback for you. I'm kind of pretty confident in my feedback, so I hope you'll enjoy it. Let's start. This video has a giveaway. One lucky winner will be able to win one DF83V grinder. So stay tuned till the end of the video to check how to enter the giveaway. First of all, we have to speak about the motor of the grinder. The DF64V had a 300 watt motor. This one holds a huge motor. It's 680 watt, which is even more than double the power of the DF64V. I've opened the grinder inside and I've checked the control chip, control panel from the back, here on the back cover, and from the inside you can see the motor. It's a pretty decent motor, I would say. Also, this grinder has an adjustable RPM similar to the DF64V. However, in the DF64V, it was from 500 RPM up to 1800 RPM. In this one, they've limited it up to 1600, but they offered you the option even to go lower at 300 RPM. We'll speak about this shortly. It has two switches. The first one is kind of the major switch. It drags the power inside the grinder itself. So you turn it on, and you start hearing small hissing sound inside the grinder. It's barely noticeable. Right now you have the power. You can see the readings in the RPM controller, and you do have small tiny red light on the major switch. It's barely noticeable, but in daylight you cannot see it, and I was surprised by it in the evening when I was passing by the grinder. So this is the major switch. The on-off switch is on the top. So right now I'm gonna turn the grinder on. It is really quiet. This is at 300 RPM. Gonna increase the RPM speed. Still really quiet. Right now we're at 1100 RPM. 1400 RPM. And right now we are at the limit, 1600 RPM. 300 RPM. The important question here regarding the motor, will it be able to handle different case scenarios under extreme circumstances? For instance, if you grind 500 gram coffee beans, will it be able to handle it? If you dose at a low RPM, go super fine for using very light roasted coffee beans, will it be able to handle it? So this was a very important question, and for the last few days I've tried so many different roasting profiles with all different RPMs, with all different Burrs geometry, because different Burrs, they offer different resistance. We will reach them shortly. But for our starter, the short answer and the direct answer is that if you plan to go super light roast with Turkish fine settings, like not even espresso, I'm saying Turkish ground, very fine espresso settings, at 500 RPM you will have zero issues. And this is the lowest setting in the DF64V. However, when you go 400 or 300, in this case, remember this is super fine and very light roasted coffee beans. Sometimes the grinder suffered. Like if you are aiming for 60 seconds extraction, the grinder will lag. Only in 300 and 400. But for 500 and above, you have no issues at all. I used to get espresso between 12 and 15. So I'm gonna put the grinder at 6, let's say. I have here really light roasted coffee beans and they are dense, really dense. You put the grinder at 500 RPM. You've put the grinding dial at number 6. You've turned on the grinder. Now if the grinder is on and I'm pouring the beans, there will be kind of less resistance to the burr, and I want to increase even more resistance. So I'm gonna turn it off, gonna pour the beans. and turn the grinder on. That's it. Let's give it 2 puffs. Ground coffee. So, I don't know if you can see it. I'm wiping it against my fingers as always, like it's sticking to my thumb. It is really fine. Ideally, I would even prefer to 300 and 400 RPM. Like if they are there, I would just prefer it to go, as is like no need to stop. But at the same time, it might be some kind of protection mechanism to the grinder, because eventually they have to set a limit for how much force will be applied, due to the fact that some coffee beans they might have rocks inside of them, and it's a protection sensor to protect the motor. You do have to have a limit, up to which limit can the grinder keep pushing forward. If I'm gonna put my own statement regarding the RPM here, once I know that 500 RPM and above, no issues, even Turkish ground coffee settings, I'm very pleased with this and I'm comfortable. This grinder is already super competitive at its price tag and its features. And some other grinders, like 3 times the price, they do have that protection sensor inside of them to prevent them. And with 500 RPM, all SSP Burrs, Turkish ground coffee settings, it's good. I'm very pleased with it. I do wish, but I'm pleased here. So right now we have 19 grams of coffee beans. We're gonna put it at the highest RPM, which is 1600. And I'm gonna turn it on. You can hear it. And you can see how fast it is in that case. Your espresso shot is ready. You see how fast that is? Your espresso shot is ready. So this is one of the main advantages of having high RPM with large grinder. Moving from the motor to the grinding chamber. So we'll open the grinder from the front. We start rotating the wider collar from the front to access the burrs. The front burr carrier, which is huge by the way. And we take it out, we have the front burr and we have the inner burr. Instantly when you open the grinder, you'll be shocked by the size of the pre-breaker. The pre-breaker is basically this helical shape from the front that feeds the beans to the burrs in a consistent way, and at the same time it pre-breaks the coffee beans into almost half size and starts feeding them to the burrs. In this case, this is a huge pre-breaker. Underneath the burr you can see small tiny pre-clumper. It has like multiple circle shape. You can see a small needle. It is the plasma technology. As opposed to the DF64V, which did not have a plasma generator, this one does have, and it's not perfect, but you don't need to splash water on the beans. That's how I'm gonna put it. Because if you go super high RPM, grind, filter roast, and filter grind setting, you do feel it will benefit from a splash of water, but not a huge thing if you do not splash. And espresso, I did not have any issues. There might be some minor electricity inside the dosing cup. Simply put, it's a very efficient plasma generator, but it is not perfect. Underneath the plasma generator, there is detachable magnetic grinding shout. I would prefer it to be stronger, but it is relatively good. I like the fact of it, and it's easy to re-put it again in place. Coming down to the dosing cup, it's a magnetic dosing cup. It's practical. It goes right in place. You can see it here. The magnet is relatively good, strong, and it has small grooves like a U shape to hold the dosing cup in place. You will never miss it. It will always go back exactly in the middle in the same place. Coming back to the hopper, it has a very tiny small hopper. It's a metal build, metal quality, and you can even use it without the silicone blower. It has an anti-popcorn disc on the top cap. Even without the lid of the anti-popcorn, you can use it. I did not notice any beans popcorning from the top. Or you can just place the anti-popcorn disc from the top and use it as is. If you wish to use the silicone blower, in this case, I did see a benefit to the silicone blower. It does help in retention, almost like 0.4 to 0.6 grams stay inside if you do not give it those small puffs. Coming up to the wooden walnut wood cover. Previously they used to put cheap wood. This one is a genuine walnut wood. You can appreciate the quality of it. That's a good plus. Now we'll start speaking about the burrs, which is a huge part of this grinder. So this beast has this large motor, this large pre-breaker, because it is using 83mm burrs. Now 83mm burrs, you have so many options. I have here in front of us the multi-purpose, the lab suite, the high uniformity from SSP burrs. The DF83 comes as is with one of two options. Either the stock burrs, which looks really similar to the high uniformity SSP burrs, or the filter burrs. I will start with the stock burrs that go for espresso. I really enjoyed them in both filter and espresso, the normal espresso stock burrs. It's most probably due to the fact of the help with the pre-breaker, which will achieve better consistency, and it's already a large pre-breaker. The breaking surface is even larger, and the burrs themselves, they look sharp. They feel really sharp. The coating is right on point, similar to DF64V. And I was interested exactly in filter coffee, because will you be sacrificing that much on filter coffee quality if you go with this burr? And the short answer is no, you're not sacrificing that much. Of course, there's still potential to get better burrs, but if you are that type of person who go only few times like 80% espresso, 20% filter, you'll still be able getting very enjoyable filter coffee with this burr. Moving to the filter burrs with this grinder, I was shocked with these burrs. When you look at them, the cutting geometry and surface looks very similar to Malkonig burrs, the EK43. And from the side, they have those cutting teeth, and you can see even when they are at the closest point, they will not be able to produce espresso. I did try, and I went to the point burrs were touching, and I got an extraction around like 18 seconds, espresso extraction. No fine added than that. So unfortunately, you cannot make espresso with them, but in filter coffee. Now, the way I judge filter coffee burrs in general, or filter coffee grinders, there are two aspects. Well, once you dial the grinder, how good is the filter coffee? And in general, without dialing the grinder, how good is it in filter coffee? So on the grinder, basically, without dialing it that much good, like without finding the sweet spot, when you have a wide range of delicious filter coffee, I'm really surprised with it. And with these burrs, instantly, the first time I tried filter coffee, even like, how did I know this is the grind setting for filter coffee? By looking at it. This looks decent. I went ahead, I brewed filter coffee, and it was just delicious. Filter coffee was juicy, clean, at the same time, tasting notes were there. They were valid. I was trying fermented coffee, and the fermentation was not harsh. It was enjoyable. You can feel the sweetness and the acidity punch you at the same time. So if you are into filter coffee, definitely consider these burrs. To put them side by side by the stock burrs, you can see how the stock burrs, they almost completely close against each other. Whereas in the case of these ones, the filter burrs, there's always a space between them. Now, between all SSP burrs, if I had to pick for this grinder, I would say the high uniformity, they have the edge over the stock burrs, but it's not the margin, the difference between them, it's not massive to go to buy SSP burrs, especially the 83mm burrs. They are, I think, around $350, $400. So they are not cheap, they are adding extra. If you want to go with SSP burrs, you need to have that difference. In that case, I will personally go with multi-purpose burrs. In espresso, using the pre-breaker, I got very consistent results. It was easy to pull espresso extraction, going very fine or coarse. Turbo shots, all were enjoyable and delicious. Also in filter coffee, you know the reputation of SSP multi-purpose burrs, and it stands for that. I'm confident to say, like, in this grinder, the stock burrs, you'll be enjoying them. If you are a filter coffee geek and you'd love drinking filter coffee, you definitely should not miss the opportunity in going with the filter coffee burrs. Coming to the grinding dial, in this case, you have a wide range of micro adjustments, and I was able to easily get 1, 2, 3 seconds espresso extraction with the grinding dial here. Coming back inside to the burrs and the grinding dial and the front collar, it's also a plus how easy it is to access the burrs. No need to use any kind of tools, you just rotate it, you have access to the burrs. And aligning the burrs, it was super easy. This is one of the easiest grinder out there, and it's most probably due to the fact of the size of the burr carrier. It is a large burr carrier, and if you want to do the marker test to test for the alignment of the burrs, it's much easier in this case with the DF83V. I did align it, and I discovered that with all the burrs I needed the same alignment, which was a small piece of aluminum foil covering one circle, slightly lifted all the burrs. Even with the stock burrs, they were very well aligned, but I just wanted to be perfectly aligned, so I had to align them. To be fair, this is kind of like very first production batch unit, and we were lucky enough, our friends at Me Coffee sent us this grinder to review and share our thoughts with you. So this is not the final production unit. I have to be fair here. Right now, speaking about overall size and build quality. So the grinder has this strange shape. Usually grinders, to avoid retention, they tilt them to the front. In this case, it's the opposite direction. It's to the back. It has a funny design. I wouldn't say it's beautiful grinder. I would say it's an interesting one. It looks powerful. And surprisingly, while from the front and the top, you think it's large one, it can easily fit. This is this knock box by our friends at Normcore. You can see it here. It easily fit the Knox box. And yeah, it won't take that much space of your coffee countertop. It comes in black and silver for now. I think they will stick to this color. A few points to mention that I wish to see addressed in the final production unit. First of all, I like the red light for the major switch, but I wanted to see it stronger. Usually small lights and grinders, they add the cherry on the top of the cake. They do add that elegant feeling to the grinder, and I wish to see it brighter. I'm not sure the reason behind the major switch and the on-off switch. Personally, I would just prefer it to be a single switch. And I did notice that if the major switch is on, I come and feel the grinder from the back, which is basically here the control panel. And after 1 day of turning it on, leaving the major switch on after 1 day, I felt it's warm from the back. This means it is not intended to be always on. They're expecting you to turn the major switch on, do your grinding coffee, and then turn it off. The grinding shout, I mentioned it's nice, it's magnetic, but I wished if it was stronger magnets. If I had to mention one point, and it's my main issue with the grinder for now, is the grinding dial. It has a short distance, and my thumb almost does not cover all of it. It almost covers half of my thumb. So when holding it and it's really stiff, and you want to adjust the grinding dial, it is stiff, it's not enjoyable, and doing it with 2 fingers, it will require a lot of grip force, so usually I hold all my fingers against it. You can do that, but I feel something like a grinding dial should be more smoother and enjoyable to use. After the grinding dial, there's the locking collar. If you're gonna see it, I'm gonna put the grinder exactly vertical in front of you here. And after I received the grinder, I opened, changed the burrs, put them back again. I think the grinder allowed me to slightly over tighten the locking collar, and this arrow is not exactly in the middle, so it's not locked in the middle. It's slightly to the right. This can easily be addressed if they make the arrow removable or something, but yeah, it's a thing to mention. And to answer one of the questions that might come to your mind, I know many people might be thinking of it, how does it compare to the DF83? Now I tried DF83 and we did review it once again. You can check the video there. My main issue with DF83 is I felt it's a very strong and capable grinder, but this fast RPM, it limits the potential of it in filter and espresso, and even when you change the burrs. Sometimes I felt like it's very nice, for instance with multi-purpose burrs and espresso. At other times I felt it's too harsh on the coffee beans. It is very fast. I wish if I able to lower it slower, or at least like the option of low, medium and high RPM. So the short answer is this is definitely much better than the DF83, and I personally in the video that we reviewed, my favorite was the DF64V over the DF83. The normal DF83, because the fact of the adjustable RPM and the build quality and the sound of the motor. So if you are thinking between DF83 or this, I would highly recommend to invest your budget into this one. And if you are thinking between this and the DF64V, you cannot go wrong with either of them, really. They're both wonderful grinders. If you are for filter, definitely go for these burrs with this grinder. If you are for espresso, you are not losing that much between the DF64V and this one. When I got this grinder, my main aim was just I want to test this grinder and see if it checks the boxes that I care about. How easy is it to dial an espresso? How accurate is it? The overall experience, like even without thinking about the details, am I liking this grinder? Am I enjoying using it on a daily basis? And the short answer to that is yes. I think it can be easily your daily driver grinder with the fact of adjustable RPM, those endless options of coffee burrs, and this massive pre-breaker inside of it. The zero retention. By the way, it has really low retention, especially with the silicone hopper. The plasma generator is pretty effective. Yeah, you can never go wrong with it. It's a wonderful grinder. I'm really enjoying it, and I'll be enjoying it for a long time. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts, what you think about it. And don't forget, huge thanks to Me Coffee, our friends, to send us this grinder to review and to offer one lucky friend the chance to win this grinder. So all you have to do is to show them some love, follow them on Instagram, follow their YouTube channel, and that's it. You'll be eligible to enter for a giveaway chance. I do really wish you good luck. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you very soon in the next video. Bye.